Hey everybody, this is Grace. In this video I'm going to talk about behaviors from neighbors that just seem a little crazy, weird, odd, but there's also another way of looking at it. Okay, there could be various ways of seeing it. Now I have done videos in the past about this kind of thing, and one thing that really has bugged me over the years is, you know how neighborhoods have a neighborhood watch? Well, I'm certain my neighborhood has a neighborhood watch program, but I don't know who's in it. I don't. And over the years, I've had neighbors watching me since we first moved in here. I mean, first bought the house, brand new. Nobody's ever lived in it before. We bought it new, okay? And moved in shortly after that. Trouble started for us because of neighbors with these kinds of behaviors. And I'm not going to go into much detail, but no, they, and they really are barking up the wrong tree as, over the years, like 20-something years. You know how when people point a finger at you, they do, how people say that there's three fingers pointing back at them? But, well, in a way, this is kind of like that. When people are really suspicious of you, in some instances, and this is the way I see this for me, it's because they're doing something suspicious. You see? And when it comes down to a neighborhood watch, if that is even the case, I don't really know. It's very weird. And let me say what happened today. Okay, this is like a little one. But today I was, me, Adam, and our dogs, we went on a little, we were going to go just one place and get lunch. It was closed, and it just led to us going here and there and getting lost because we thought we were on one street and we were on another. It was funny, really, when it came down to it. It took us over an hour. And when we got back, the way we drive into our driveway, which is not a real long driveway, but going down the street, I could see this one person who had given me trouble before. He was such a jerk. And he was watching us. I mean, he has to pass our house to get to his. He'd bound to have seen my car. Know it's me, know my car is pulling into my driveway, but he stared until I got all the way in my driveway where he could no longer see me. But for somebody to stand there and watch me drive into my own driveway, and I couldn't do, I would see him because it's right in front of me. It was down the road right there. I'm like, whoa, what's that all about? But he's been a total jerk. I'm pretty sure it was him. Too, because of the where he was standing, the automobile there. And I could be wrong, but to watch somebody drive up into their driveway and just stand there and stare at them as they're driving, and just his movement, just his way of doing it, standing out and looking, like, really? You're not neighborhood watch. If you were neighborhood watch, you would know that's my automobile, that it's me pulling into my driveway. Okay. Well, I have had, over the years, so many problems. I actually had the police involved. I had called the non-emergency woman number, and the woman that was causing, and the woman and her employee, big, buffy women, came charging across my yard. And you don't do that. Mine has no trespassing. And she was she was a royal bee. Seriously, she was. Luckily, she moved. And she tried to think, and it wasn't just us, she seemed to think that she was the boss of the whole street. She owned the whole neighborhood here. She did act like that. And, well, she quickly learned that she did not, but she still tried. She did. Oh, luckily they moved, and guess who moved into the house? Yeah, that one. And, anyway, some of the stuff is funny because I'm not one to keep my mouth shut. I'm Texan. I'm not saying all Texans are this way. But where I grew up in Texas, you learned, use your voice. Defend yourself. Now, that's not advice for anybody else, because that can be dangerous. And I'm well aware it can be dangerous. You know, physically or any way, it can be dangerous. You know, but this is just part of me, who I am, how I was raised, you know. And I do, there are times I check myself, you better believe it, and say, I'm not saying anything, I'm just walking away. But when somebody comes charging across my yard, and the thing was, I was getting the previous dogs I had out of the, they both passed away, but they got old, they were pretty old. But getting them out of the back of the SUV, you know, and they were in the back part of it. And I opened up that big door, and just as I saw these women walking across, storming across my yard. They were storming across, like, you know, huffing and puffing. They saw my 2 dogs. They were 2 black labs. They were big ones. One was really big. And they did not like anybody coming toward me, you know. And I don't think they didn't do anything, but those 2 women took off. Then they go and call the police. You know? They called the police on themselves, because the police officer came over and said, this is what happened. I said, I already called and reported them coming in my yard. He said, you did? I said, I did not call 911. And I gave him the name of the officer. And he called. He said, yeah, you did. And I said, yeah. I said, this is what they did. He said, well, y'all just all your neighbors, just try to get along, okay? And he knew at that point, because of what he was saying, and I knew he knew that I was in the right. They were in the wrong. So he said, I'm going to go talk to them. So he did. Luckily, like I said, they moved. And I have a feeling they moved because of more than just the husband got a job somewhere else. They moved because his wife was causing too much trouble in the neighborhood. It wasn't just me. So, you see what I'm saying? Okay, some more. Last year, boy, it got loud, didn't it? Last year, I don't know what it was, about 2021, and maybe some of it was also 2020, which I can guess what it was, more people at home, I guess. But I had far too much of it, and I had mentioned before that I have had trouble with neighbors that just watched, like the whole thing of this one watching me pull in my driveway. Okay, if you really neighborhood watch, like I just said earlier, you would know that it's me driving my driveway. Okay. Now, and you shouldn't have to stare and watch. It's none of your business. You know what I'm saying? And none of your business who's in my car or any of that stuff, you know? Because Adam and the dogs were sitting in the back seat, and that's what they do. I'm going to say I'm driving Mr. Daisy here, you know, and his dogs. And but that's just keeps them from jumping over. They're puppies, really. They're not puppies. They're puppy dogs. Let's put it that way. But anyway, last year was so weird. I was beginning to worry. What in the world is going on? I mean, I'm talking like I would go down to the park. Okay, the park, which is in our neighborhood, and I'd sit there and make videos. I've done it for years. There was some woman that came out. I didn't get to see where she came out from her house because my camera was covering it. I used my cell phone. It was covering that wherever she came from. But she got it like right at the end of the road, which is probably a length of 2 to 3 cars, you know. And she started videoing me and taking pictures of me. I'm sitting at a park. Okay. I've been doing it for years. And those stories just keep going on. Like the one I think was her husband tried to come toward me. He walked real slow, passed on the sidewalk next to me. Then he went around, and I took off when I saw him because he was wearing a hunting shirt. And it wasn't that kind of it's not that kind of a place. And plus it was like the wrong season for that one. So that's weird. He was probably around my age, both of them. And I went around the block and came back and parked and just, you know, I drove around making video and parked. And then he came from the other direction on the other side and then walked right toward my SUV, and I took off. I said, man, this is weird. And I've seen him again since then. And some people would say, here you are parked at a park making videos. Well, maybe they get upset. Maybe they get angry. You know, if you're going to be paranoid, if you're going to be paranoid and live near a park, why are you doing that? I know some people would say that I'm wrong for thinking that way. But you will have a lot of people who come to the park daily and park. And some get out. Sometimes I would get out, and sometimes they don't. Sometimes people just go there like me and use their telephone, or make a, I don't know of anybody else who makes a video sitting there. But if they see, I talk with my hands too, so they're going to see my hands moving, and they're going to see my camera. Okay, so they could make an assumption of that she's talking on her phone. Okay, and I'm facing it. Seriously, it's a mount on the windshield, not on the dash, but on the windshield. And there's my camera right there. My phone. So that's what they're seeing. And to me, it's just more people who think they own the road, and just in a different way. And I can tell you about people who open up windows and that only point toward my house and nobody else's, and say things like, talk about things that are going on in my backyard that they should know. They have the right to know what goes on in my backyard or my front yard, what goes on. Now this one was was what goes on and what's said in my house. They said it different times as though they have a right to know. No, you don't. You do not have a right to know what goes on in my backyard, my patio, inside my house. You see what I'm saying? They have that kind of mentality. That's when, really after that, that's when I started to say, okay, they are doing something that's not right. You see? They are. Okay, and I had actually made videos about this on one of my channels, my original one, for this kind of topic. And I had so many stories, like the one about, basically, hell hath no fury. I was in the neighborhood and I was driving around in my own neighborhood, okay, and I took a road that I had never. It was a newer part, and I took a road that I hadn't taken before, and I thought it was, go in and come, go in and get back to the main part, and instead it was a cul-de-sac. And as I was going there, I saw, on one side of the street there was nothing, but they haven't built houses there. And the other one, they were building one of the houses. And I think they had 3 that were already built. And then the cul-de-sac, cul-de-sac part where you can turn around on the road. And it was like dawn, or dusk, And I saw this woman standing outside. She has a typical look I have seen a big part of my life. Strawberry blonde hair, somewhat more red, freckles, very white face, chubby. I've seen this type. So many people, so many women look like this. And they're not tall and, like I said, chubby. Seriously, and they're angry. Every one of them I've ever known are angry people. They're very angry. So, anyway, I saw her as I passed by, thinking that I was going to be going straight, but no, it was a cul-de-sac. And so I started to turn back around. When I got to the end, to that part of it, I stopped. Nobody else is around, okay, but her, that woman I saw as I passed by. And I think she was in the middle house. And I was adjusting my safety belt, and the top part of my clothing was just not right, and the safety belt and all that. So I was adjusting. I was in an older SUV I had. And when I did, I looked over, and that woman had gotten into her big black SUV and had cornered me in on that cul-de-sac. I look over at her, and I do the thing with my hand, like, what the, and she has this stern, really ugly look on her face, like all scrunched up. I'm trying to do it. It sounds funny, doesn't it? And just like real gruffy and all. And I looked at her and I waved her, like, you move. Let me out of here. It was like, really? You on this road? So she slowly backed up, and she was looking at me in her rearview mirror, slowly looking at me, slowly driving and looking at me. like she was some tough woman. Yeah. I'm like, I was probably like 20 years older and a lot more experience. And so I left from there, and I'm like, what image, a little story, I write little stories. A story came up into my mind that was probably, I think it was a Friday night too. And yeah, I think it was Friday, almost night. And a story came to my mind that her husband's been cheating on her, and she thinks I'm the other woman. I don't know why that came to my mind. It was like, boom, that picture came to my mind. And anyway, I've been down there before because it's so easy. The way that they design these areas, this whole neighborhood across the street and all that down the road, the whole estates, the roads of them is so that people who are not familiar will have problems. So it reduces the amount of people trying to rob people, because like here you can go down and then you can't get out if you don't know where you're going already. That's what they do, so that's what they did, so people wouldn't, like I said, it reduces the chance unless they're on foot. Okay. And what's the likelihood of that? Well, actually it happened before. Not the inside of the houses, but they went through this neighborhood and one in the next suburb next to us. They went through a lot of the cars, and the automobiles of people, their vehicles, to get stuff out of their glove compartments. Yeah, really, seriously. It was a big deal. They did it to both of ours, so at the time. But anyway, that woman, this was the kicker. It's like I said, I've seen this type of woman, the whole appearance, not the same woman, but the appearance over the years, time after time again. Well, not too long after that, I don't know what it was, I went to a different grocery store, the same chain I usually go to, but it was on a different road. And I was in the bakery, and I liked to take, used to do videos about grocery stores, for YouTube and all that, on YouTube. I put them on YouTube, not for, but on. And like the bakery was a big thing. People love seeing the bakery and all. So I was doing that, and I looked up in the bakery, the baker, call her. Guess who it was? You got it. You already knew. It was her. And she said, "Can I help you, ma'am?" With that scrunched up nose. Kind of looks like a pig's nose when they do that. They scrunch it up. And she's human. She's not a pig. But you know how that scrunched up pig nose thing. And I'm like, oh my goodness. And I went there another time, and she was the same way. I wasn't doing videos. She was just, she just had a bad attitude. And just the way the words came out of her mouth, like I just said, I tried to imitate, but I'm not good at it. But just the words were so like, aggressive and icky. Just icky. You know what I'm saying? They're just aggressive and abrasive, something. And I thought that had to be her. That had to be that woman, that cornered me in as though she owned the road. No wonder that other house was not sold. Seriously, people who have these kind of bad attitudes can really keep houses from being bought. If I would go to a neighborhood and saw somebody like that, like if I were somebody who was just after work driving over there to check out the house, check out what it looks like at night and all that, and saw that kind of a thing, do you think I'd buy a house there? Oh my goodness, no. I'm going to have a next door neighbor, or she was either next door or the one down, next to that, as a neighbor. Oh no. And her yard was just full of kids' toys or something. It wasn't toys, I don't know. It was just a really nice house, but just really busy, I would say. And people keep their yards clean here. Actually, we have an HOA that says you must. Okay, keep your yards clean. So, yeah, because, people won't buy houses if it's all trashy. Really. I mean, would you buy a house if the neighborhood was all trashy? And somebody out there is going to jump in their SUV, big old, SUV, and corner you in at the end of the street. Really? Okay, no. I have a bunch of stories. I may have even stories about this. I may have even put some on this at one time, but my videos now, it's more for a hypothetical fictional stories. Mine stories are real. Okay, that I've just talked about. They are real. But they're going to be used for hypothetical fictional stories that I've been writing and putting up, making public on this channel. So, and I just made a video about that basically part of the fiction story, Lucas, Shania, and Shane and Shania, they'll be taking these and using these for their broadcasts kind of thing, videos. Ooh, it can get confusing, let me tell you. But no, I've had some pretty wild experiences with neighbors over years, and not just here. I think since I was a child. So, yeah, it was since I was a child. I first heard from my dad the crazy neighbor stories. Starting as a child, and yeah, I've had some over the years. Not everybody's a crazy neighbor, but usually when I sit out here in front of my house now. Sometime at the park and sometime at the nature preserve, or while I'm driving, just various places, but mainly these days in front of my house. And I have been doing this for years. My first original channel, it's around 7.5 years I've made videos on it. So you would think, okay, yeah, you would think I wouldn't have people coming out of their house and just staring at me. I'm sitting in my SUV in front of my own house in my own driveway, but different times, and I've been doing it for years. They've seen me before. It's nothing new, but they just stand there and stare at me. You would think that they wouldn't do that. That you would think that while I'm pulling in my driveway, they wouldn't be watching me. This is why eventually I started suspecting them. They're up to no good, and they don't like the fact that I'm outside. Maybe that could be it. Who knows? But when somebody tells you they should be able to hear what's going on in your house, and they have been in your house, they said, well, we didn't hear that, and said we should have been able to hear that in your house. Go on and on, and what people are just bold. What did you do? Put something in my house? I mean, that wouldn't make me think, if I even considered it, it would make me think of a Lifetime movie. Something like that, you know what I'm saying? And besides that, oh my goodness, oh, you couldn't have done that. And once I got past how funny it sounded, yeah, I still would try to blame myself, because they did actually say that. Wow, when you're just shocked and you're like, whoa, and then you go back to your home. You think, whoa, they really said that. All of that, over time. Yeah, you see what I'm saying? Anyway, I'm getting tired. I just had lunch a little while ago. And I didn't really have carbs. I ordered, Adam went in to order it. And he knows that I like no beans. It was supposed to be a nacho salad. And somehow it turned into nachos. And had beans on it. And I don't eat the chips, but it still made me sleepy. So weird, real life. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this one up. Maybe I'll tell some other stories. Like I said, I'm basically telling stories, but these are real ones. Okay, and the character that is one of the directors, her name is Grace. So, yeah, one of the characters. Anyway, wrapping it up. Talk to you in another video. Bye.